Welcome to John Michael's Rockbox. I'm your host, John Michael. I get to host this show that, well, it's a show about you. If you're a musician, if you're a solo artist, if you're a painter, if you write books, your dance club, well, I'd like to hear from you. Send me your information to jmrockbox@mcaet.org. All right, we'd like to hear from you, and somebody will get right back to you. Now, also, if you'd like to watch the show, simply go to mcaet.org/watch, and you'll see all the variations on how you can watch the Rockbox. And, well, this show really wouldn't last without you. So we do definitely need your donations. And visit mcaet.org/donate. We'd like to welcome you to the Rockbox. And with that being said, let's head on over and meet our guest. And welcome to the Rockbox. Welcome to John Michael's Rockbox. It's good to have you along on the show today. Now, today is going to be a really good, fun show because, well, we're going to go in a direction that we have not yet touched, but we are today. And what it is, I've invited local promoter David Drew and company to come in and discuss with you the goings-on of putting on any show, rock show, country show, you know, strip show. We haven't done that for yet.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe someday.
We'll get there.
So I'd like to introduce to you David Drew. David Drew, welcome. Good to have you along.
Thanks for having us.
And thanks for coming on.
Not a problem.
Cool.
We owe you that, John.
Hey. So to give you the honors of introducing your crew.
Absolutely. Dwayne Plummer, my security guy, and any other thing I need guy. He handles everything for us. Been with us since the inception. He handles all of our security needs with the incoming artists and the venues. Erica Palacio, she just started with us. This was her first show with us. Did an amazing job. She was just rose to the occasion, was a superstar. She works closely with me, dealing with all the artist needs that we have to deal with at the show, day of show, and pre-show and post-show. So Erica stepped up, did an awesome job for us this year. Lori, my superstar, she's been handling artist needs since day one, the first show I did. She handles all the catering, all the needs for the artist. No matter what we do at the show, when they leave, they still love us because Lori just takes care of them. So she's awesome.
Way to go, Lori.
Yeah, she's a superstar. And then Rick Cremona, my right-hand guy, he's with us every show. Carpenter, stage build, stage tear down, everything that has to do with production of the show. Yeah. Rick's deeply involved, helps me. He's had my back since day one. So this is our dream team.
The dream team. Yeah. The dream team is here. Well done, you guys. I mean, you know, I knew kind of the goings on of a show. There was a lot more that I was filled in when I was out there for the Aerosmith show that you were on. Thank you very much. And sat in with Dwayne, who explained a lot, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot of this footage that we recorded with Dwayne, and stuff that I kind of thought in my mind already, but you kind of filled a little bit more, and yeah. Well, I know there's a lot. You, just by introducing this crew of all the things that go on. So I guess maybe we should start back in the day of David Drew thinking, you know what? Maybe I ought to have a show somewhere, like, you know, we'll start in the backyard. Now, where in the world did you come up with the idea of trying to bring artists or doing a show?
Well, you know, it's funny is, you know, I was born and raised here, as were, I think, all of us. All but Erica.
All but Erica.
So I think all of us grew up here. We've really never had a musical scene here.
Right.
And I think what kind of opened our eyes to it was the Eagles came and played here in 2005. We all went to that show. Amazing show. Yeah. After the show, there's probably 20 of us that went back to local bar here in Salinas and a little post-show celebration. And we were just kicking around the idea, why don't we have music here all the time? And so, you know, one thing led to another. And, you know, next thing, it was next week, we were down at my attorney's office drafting up a corporation, and we just kind of just dove into it feet first, not knowing a damn thing about concert promoting. And it was just kind of, we learned as we went, you know, for the first 4 or 5 years. So it was really tough. It was eye-opening. We learned a lot of stuff about the industry that we just never knew. So it's kind of how we rolled into it. And I mean, You were there on our first show. I mean, we landed off pretty big on our first show. We brought the Scorpions here in 2006, which was an amazing show, and that's just kind of where it all took off, and it blossomed from there. And you know, we made a lot of mistakes in the early years. I don't know if they were mistakes, but it was just stuff that we learned by. So every year we took it to a different level. We learned a little bit more. We broadened our scope of entertainment that we brought. We branched into comedy and all different types of genres, you know, from R&B to hip hop to old school rock, country, you name it. We covered everything. So, you know, after 4 or 5 years, we kind of got the hang of it. So now we're starting on a roll now. So we're, you know, it's starting in these latter years. It's become easier to produce the events because all of my team is pretty educated on what to do, so knocking out a show now is a lot easier than it was back in those days.
Well, I'd imagine. So the people that you have with you now, did you think of all of them helping you at the moment, or was it like you're sitting there talking like, you know, I've got to do this, I don't know, I'm going to do that, and Dwayne's sitting there like, dude, I could do that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. It was just trial by fire. We just all jumped in there and said, hey, Rick, handle this. Lori, can you do this? Yeah, I'm on it. And Dwayne jumps in. So we all just went in, and yeah, it was tough in the first shows because, you know, we're just amateurs. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. You know, we're out there trying to produce a show, but, you know, you don't know all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes when you've never done one. Then you get exposed to it real quick. And you've got to either, you know, produce or fail. And, you know, with every show, everybody rose to the occasion to get it done. Some we worked much harder at because we just didn't know what we were doing. But we just made up for it in hard work.
So the caliber of your artist would make a difference on as far as the expectations of what they desire.
Absolutely. The bigger level artists you get into, the demands are much higher. They're used to dealing with venues that have a lot of experience because first of all, you know, an artist is an A-League artist. He's not going to play in a little small venue with, you know, a couple first-timers that are putting on a show. They just won't even deal with it. So, yeah.
Okay, well, you're kind of getting the idea, and I think maybe of what this is kind of about. So I guess maybe we should start like, you're talking A-lists and putting together things with artists and demands, and so from your first, and of course learning. What do you maybe have a, well, I don't know, fun story, a horror story of, you know, starting up, okay, I'm putting this together, I'm bringing in so-and-so, and I'm sure we could probably do.
How much time do you have?
We have a long time.
You're going to need a long one for that.
Starting off, I don't know what I'm doing. Somebody is, now you have people watching, maybe give an explanation. Okay, well, what is it really? Because it's, to a lot of people, it's, I'm buying a ticket, I'm going to a show that somebody put on that, you know, they don't even know it's David Drew Productions, and all you guys are involved in this whole thing. So I got a ticket, I bought it through whoever I'm buying it through, and there's that part you have to put together. I'm going to the venue that you have to find out where that's going to be, and I'm going to see so-and-so that you had to hire if you can get them, and then set the date and all this stuff. So all they see is that, buy it, I'm in my hand, here you go, sit down.
Pretty easy for the consumer, huh?
If you're a consumer. So what we're doing here today on the Rockbox is just kind of give everybody an idea. There's a lot going on for what you're going to see to what you have to put together so they can see it.
Well, you know, the start of this deal is first of all, you're booking talent in a small market, which is extremely tough. The Monterey County is a very small market in comparison to the Bay Area, Southern California. So first of all, we're competing against venues to the north of us that their population is much greater than the Monterey County. So that is its first hurdle. Then you have to go procure the talent. So, and that's really about relationships in the industry, networking with agents and stuff like that, and a lot of data research on the artist. You know, what kind of sales does he have? What's he been doing in what markets? What's a market similar to our market? So we have to digest all that data, look at the artist, anticipate what we think we can sell in this market, what our production costs are, and we have to calibrate an offer to the agent. and then the agent moves it off to management. Management looks at it, sees whether or not it's going to fit in a route, whether or not we're in the right price zone. So there's a lot of negotiating to first get the artist here. Typically, we're handicapped because bands' fee range is dictated by the amount of tickets they sell. So the amount of tickets they sell are typically recorded in big markets. So if they play all big markets and they sell a lot of tickets, their price is very high, where they may not sell that in the Monterey County.
Right.
So, we have to look all over the place to see if we can catch a route where they may give us some consideration on pricing to get in at a level that our market can afford. So we can price it right for the consumer, we can get a high enough gross to pay the artist, and we can get out of there without losing our tail.
Right.
So the booking process is extremely complicated. And what makes it even more complicated for some of these shows that we do, some of the shows that we do are date specific, like specifically Aerosmith. That was a date specific show. We had to have that artist on this specific date. So you can imagine the difficulty finding an artist that just happens to be available on that one date that you need, and he's just on a world tour and just says, hey, I forgot to book July 10th. Let me call those fools in Salinas, see if they can get me on a gig over there.
Yeah.
It doesn't go down like that. So there's a lot of negotiating behind the scenes to try to hit those dates. And you don't get to go pick, I want this artist. It's really about who's out there at that time that may be available.
Sure.
And then you start the negotiation. So that's the first part of it, is the booking of the artist. Once you get the artist, there's a whole bunch of other stuff involved.
So you've got your venue in mind with a certain date. Now finding the artist, whom, by the way, when he describes en route, depending if you rodeo, is they're touring and they're going to be passing semi sort of close to the area.
Yep.
So what it is that you're a stop in between their two other shows.
Correct.
So if you can find a band like that, which Smith apparently was.
Well,
or were they?
They were in the start of it, and with this particular show, Dan Weiner, their agent, was instrumental in moving mountains to make the play go down in Salinas. He literally had to move a whole lot of venues because we were date specific. Some of the other venues could move and adjust. So he literally moved mountains to make this show happen. So that's, a lot of people probably don't realize that there was a lot going on behind the scenes to make that play go down on that date. We'd literally been working on this deal for probably better part of 9-10 years. I've been trying to make that play go down.
Sure.
And it finally all came together.
We've had some great shows. Of course, we're talking now specifically about Aerosmith, but David Drew has brought a lot of artists through the area. So now you kind of get the idea of just the idea. So the idea has become into some sort of reality. And you got the artist that says, yeah, okay, we can do it, and we'll do it on this date. You've got the venue, so you've secured that, which, by the way, is that a contract deal? When you got a venue, do you have, okay, we want X amount of money?
Yes.
Yes. Does all that involved?
Every venue deal is negotiable. You can go into a venue and negotiate out a deal. They're all different. And we use all the venues around the Monterey County here, from the Fox Theater, the Monterey Fairgrounds, the Salinas Sports Complex. Those are pretty much the premier venues that we have here. Each will accommodate a different size artist. And obviously when we're looking at these big ones, I think the sports complex is the only thing that's big enough to support those acts. So another thing that's a little bit difficult when we talk about routes, typically that is what happens. A band's routing and we try to catch them in between LA and Northern California where we can get Salinas into play. Problem is with it too is most people that are spending that kind of money booking an artist will slap a radius clause on their offer. So if Paso Robles Mid-State Fair is going after an artist and they've secured them, they're not going to come play Salinas because they literally will block us out of the market.
Right.
They'll put a 200-mile radius clause so that management can't sell them to anybody within 200 miles of their venue. So that's just a little more complexity to the whole booking process, the old radius clause.
Right.
So,
Wow. Geez, there's all that. All right. Dang. All right. So you got the band, you've got the venue, and then now I think is where probably you guys start coming into play, and we start bringing in these guys. Okay, I got the place, I got the band. All right, guys.
now we got to deal with the production.
Oh,
So that makes it
all right. So here's more. I'm learning too. So
as we take a show, we book it, we contract it, we're ready to go. We've got to market it, and then we got to produce it. So marketing, obviously, we come see you folks at the Hippo. We see our local television people, social media. We come up with a marketing plan. Simultaneously, we're working on all the production aspects, which means stage, lighting, sound systems, mix positions, spot towers, forklifts, all the stuff to put this stuff on. So we'll start putting out to staging contractors bids for staging, lighting if the band's not carrying their own lighting rigs, if they're not carrying their own sound systems. We have to put that all out to quote. And that's where Rick and Dwayne and Erica all come into play. We'll start coming up with a production game plan. We'll start booking our staging, our cranes, our heavy equipment. These are massive stages that take, they take a week to put the damn thing up. They're big stages, and depending on the need of the band, it dictates how big of a stage we have to bring in based on what kind of weight we have to support from the upper canopy of the stage. So the band's rider will detail that to me, and then I'll go out and work with industry contacts to procure all of that stuff and get quotes and try to keep it within my budget. And then our team here, we put it together, we start executing the times and building the labor call for the show, because I don't think a lot of people understand when we build a big show like such as Aerosmith, we probably have over 100 people working behind the scenes just to build the stage, load the band in, be at stage call, and then load the band out. We have 100 people behind the scenes making all that happen. So it's a coordinating nightmare. Erica's filling out labor sheets this long, contracting, 100 people for a little short-term labor commitment is a difficult task. And then Lori's got to take them all back there and keep their bellies full of food and make everybody happy and hydrated and everything else. And then Rick, Dwayne, and I all have to build it. So.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. We're going to let you watch some footage and stuff, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start talking to some of the crew, since we just mentioned them. One thing I want you to keep in mind, stuff that David's just discussed, mind you, all costs money. Everything so far.
Lots of money.
Is
Lots of money.
And so you're going to kind of see, okay, that's why my ticket costs, whatever it costs. So we'll be back, and we're going to talk more with David Drew and everybody else here. And thanks for hanging out at the Rockbox.
So what you're going to do now is we're going to take a ride around with Dwayne and see the complex itself and all the things that are going on. And Dwayne, we're going to let you be the narrator.
Well, let's do this then. So as you can see, we're pretty much front of house. This is where all the people will be when it's happening. We're going to end up having fencing put across here, which will separate the backstage from the front, both sides. It'll have windshields on it so people can't see back in there. It'll all be blacked out, so there won't be any issue. This will be our only, we will have one entrance here to backstage. That will be our only entrance to backstage. So right now what we'll do is we'll take a little cruise behind the back of the stage.
You get to see what it looks like.
These are going to be the video walls. It'll have big screens on them. I haven't seen the whole layout for on top of the deck yet, but it's going to be pretty extravagant. You can see they're starting to raise this a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Going slower, but now you're getting a pretty close view of what's going on. They're building the deck.
Oh, I see.
This is where all our power comes from, right behind it. Now this one here was the last year for Brad Paisley, we were quite a bit further out there because we had no seating out front. So now we've really only got 30 feet between ourselves and the bucking chutes here. So you can see things are pretty tight. We will have loadout ramps on both sides of this. So we'll have semi trucks backing in here and they will be loading in and out all the equipment on both sides. And that's what it's going to look like back here. Pretty tight, I got to say, for as much stuff that's getting ready to happen out here. This is really going to be tight. These guys are starting to bring in all the decking now, all the flooring. They're moving it so that they can continue with their work over here, but it won't be long and they're going to start stacking this stuff. I can see it now. There's Rick putting out a fire as usual. So we're starting to get some of the main men for a lot of this sound and audio and this and that coming in.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I think when Aerosmith's.
Yeah, Aerosmith
guys.
Aerosmith's here. Yeah, they're in-house right now. So, you know, usually when it comes to audio and video, there's a few little things that you have to get squared away. Something always pops up, but these guys all know what's going on. So David jumps right in on it, and Craig, and they get right in it, and they take care of it. They don't mess around. So this is going to be production offices. We've brought these in just for the production. One side will be production, one side will be their big guys in here. These will be portables. They'll be taken out of here afterwards. We always have to supply them with good facilities.
Right.
The meet and greets will be going on back here. I will be bringing them from the front of the stage around the back side of this modular here, and we'll have the band will be inside there, and they'll be meeting Steven and them inside there, and then I will be exiting them back around the outside.
Right.
When things get done here by tomorrow, we will have the dressing rooms. We actually get what they call Hollywood honey buckets, is what they're called, and they're portable dressing rooms, which the stars use when they do shoots on site, you know, wherever they're shooting. So they'll be able to, we're going to bring them in straight on. I think we have 2 large ones with two separate compartments in each, and then all the buses will be pulling straight in here. So we're going to create this, we'll create a complex here that's going to be tight. We'll have security all the way around it. So here in another day, this is going to look really different in here. It's kind of why I wanted you to see it now, because when you look at it next time, it's gonna be quite a different deal.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah. So this the bar here, this is usually the bar for the rodeo, and right now we've got a ton of food inside there. That place, this will be hospitality. So this is where we take care of all the food, and they will all have bands that will allow them in and out, because you don't just let anybody in by where they're at. They like to have kind of a mellow situation.
Sure.
Also, all their guys that will be building, all their stage crews, they're coming with quite a crew themselves. So we've got to feed them, not just the band, but their entire crews. And Lori Lazzarini, she's the one that works in there. She's got a gal in there right now with her, and they're separating food. I think she's shopped for 3 days now. There's more food in there than there is in Costco right now, I can tell you. So that's what's happening now. Here's the buses. We've already got not the buses, but the trucks. This is all their stuff coming in. They've got 9, I believe it's 9 trucks and 6 or 7 buses on this one. Now Paisley, we had over 9 or 10 buses with Brad Paisley's deal, and we had 10 trucks too. So he brought in quite a crew too. But you can see we're getting them staged in here. It's kind of a big deal to be able to stage these trucks in the manner that we want them to load in and load out.
Right.
Now I really won't know that right now. They're ahead of schedule a little bit on us, but all their stuff's packed inside there. And then once we get an idea who's truck 1, what needs to load out first, when they get unloaded in the back, then what they'll do is I'll get them back out here staged to load out in the right sequence.
Got it.
So the last guy that loaded in will be the first guy loading out. So I've got to stage them in a sequence that makes it easy on everybody to get them in. And we got to know which side we'll back them in on too. We've got 2 different docks. We'll have them come through that gate over there. We'll also have them come through the other gate. They'll back right up to the loading ramps, and then we'll have all our crews on top of it.
Wow.
We start that as soon as they step off stage. They start breaking down. We'll be here till 3 in the morning on Saturday morning to get their trucks loaded and headed out. And then we'll get about 3 hours sleep, and then we'll be back out here. And then the facility starts coming down.
Okay.
So it's quite a tiring event, to tell you the truth. We'll all be wiped out come Sunday. We won't know whether we're standing or sitting or what.
Yeah, right.
But they got some real nice trucks here.
They do.
All polished out, and they require that. They require these trucks stay looking nice. And
They are.
This is what gets them around. I believe all their trucks are here. Looks like I've got
6, 7.
No, I'm missing 2 trucks. There's 9 trucks, so we still got 2 trucks out there, and they are probably the last to have loaded out at their last function. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
probably,
So they're doing sanding.
yeah, they're still en route. These guys got here, I think, last night because they called me from a truck stop here in Salinas and said that they'd got it overnight and they were showering, but they wanted to get here and get their trucks here. So we will definitely accommodate them as best we can. But I wouldn't be surprised if I don't start seeing somewhat of the crew buses come in today.
Sure.
Later this afternoon, we may end up having them, and I won't have their dressing rooms available till tomorrow, but we'll get them stacked in here, whatever, we work around them. You kind of have to do what you got to do.
That's true.
We'll have everything closed off. We're actually closing up the street out back here off of, I think it's Mariel or whatever it is. At 10 o'clock Friday morning, where the little playground is for the kids, we will shut that street down. It'll be blocked off. We will have lists of people that will be allowed to come through there, and then we'll catch them again. My brother will be running the entrance back here, and anybody that's allowed back in here will have to have their name on the list, credentialed. There won't be any loose ends whatsoever. I think for Paisley, we had 2 people ended up backstage all night that weren't supposed to be back here, and they were officers, off-duty police officers.
Really?
And they flashed their badge at the security, and the security said, oh, okay, so they let them in. And that was the only 2, so we pretty much got this stuff dialed.
You do. You do. That is an ordeal. So now you know there's a lot more involved, even more than I thought. Even to the point where, you know, bringing in the trucks and in the way that you can unload them so that when they're unloaded, you set them back up so they can reload and get the heck out of here.
We also have to come up with a lot of Wi-Fi and things like that, because when these guys come in here, it's a high-tech situation, so you've always got to have everything checked out. We had a Wi-Fi guy in here yesterday. He's already set up everything. We have our comings and goings with that because not everything's always perfect, but yeah, we'll stage all the meet and greets back up underneath this thing. I think there's like 60 or 70 people, if I'm not mistaken, and then they'll go in there and they'll get to do their experiences. Yes, sir. It is, in a minute. I'll be right back.
It even comes down to the use of these vehicles.
Yeah, we spread them pretty thin, you know. So anyway, that's pretty much a tour of the spot here.
Wow, Dwayne.
They'll have the big bars over there. These are bars at either end. That's going to be a VIP deal right there. Lots going to be happening here within the next 48 hours, I'll tell you that.
You're going to be one tired guy, Dwayne.
I already am. I take little naps in my truck every once in a while.
You about have to.
I don't even ask. I just go do it because I won't be able to if I don't.
To the point where they come looking for Dwayne.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what
Dwayne.
you got, guys. Hope that helps you out some.
Yeah, that helps out a lot. So now you got to kind of get to see the experience of what goes on, a little bit more of an explanation from Dwayne and all that goes on. I mean, you know, even comes down to the porta potties.
Oh yeah, you gotta have those.
Because you know you can't have a function this big without bathrooms.
You can, but it'd be pretty ugly.
Yeah, it sure would. and Dwayne's not going to clean it up.
No, I'm not cleaning it up.